And blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Our phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And a few things going on today. We've got one city in America suing to ban semi-automatic weapons. We have a report that Idaho is the most dependent state on the gun industry. Of course, we would love to have more gun manufacturers here. We have a lot of people that make ammunition. We have a lot of shooting ranges. We have a lot of people. I still believe we make AK-47s here, but why not have more gun industry? Why not embrace the Second Amendment? We'll talk a little bit about that at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Top national story. If you heard at the top of the hour, you had William Barr, the Attorney General, saying, look, I believe that the president was spied upon. The president basically saying he hasn't seen the Mueller report, but he's not surprised, and he believes that it's time, rightfully, to fight back.
The Mueller report, when they talk about obstruction, we fight back. And you know why we fight back? Because I knew how illegal this whole thing was. It was a scam.
It was a scam.
This was an attempted coup. This was an attempted takedown of a president. And we beat them.
You know, a couple of things before we get into it. If you heard our program, or maybe you heard the national shows, a young lady that our friend Tommy Alquist knows, Candace Owens, Turning Point USA, Prager University, a very smart young lady. She testified before Congress about white nationalism, about scaring people, scaring minorities. Now you've got white fragility as part of the new Webster's Dictionary and such. The divisive nature of identity politics, another issue that we'll have to embrace in a greater, diverse America. But she had a toe-to-toe last night with a gentleman on the Laura Ingraham show. We'll share that with you. But I'd like to start with this attempted coup against the President of the United States. You've heard Sean Hannity talk about it. You've heard Kevin Miller talk about it. Really, that's what it is. And you're going to have some government officials saying, we just need to move on. You ever notice that when it's a Republican, it's always time to move on, but the devious little libs, they never move on. The devious little libs, they're kind of a lot like somebody I know, somebody that holds a grudge. You ever been around somebody like that? Maybe it's you, maybe it's whomever, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a relative. Oh, they don't forget the perception, or if you've wronged them, the libs hold a grudge. The Republicans, well, for the good of the country, we need to move on. For the good of the country. And I don't know, I hope and I pray that we have the backbone and the strength, not only to go after James Comey, Peter Strzok, Andrew McCabe, and everybody else, but Loretta Lynch, Eric Holder, and the arrogance of the Obama administration. That's what needs to be done. We need to go back and wonder why the IRS was militarized, why the FBI was politicized, why the NSA spied on folks. Julian Assange, WikiLeaks, arrested. The Brits said, we don't care about the Ecuadorian embassy. We're going in and getting you, Julian Assange. By the way, the photos today, he looks like a skinny Santa Claus. But Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks and the First Amendment, and call it what you want, many people hate him. But he, along with Edward Snowden, did something that great journalists do. They exposed the government corruption. They exposed the government breaking the laws. And why hasn't James Clapper been prosecuted for lying to Congress? Why hasn't Susan Page been, or Susan Rice been prosecuted for lying about Benghazi? Why hasn't Hillary Clinton been investigated? Right? Friends, neighbors, relatives, this went on for 8 years. The regime wanted to make sure that they continued to hold power. Let's go back again to what President Trump said here on KIDO Talk Radio.
This was an attempted coup. This was an attempted takedown of a president. And we beat them.
We beat them, and we continue to beat them. And here's another thing. thinking about this. They want Donald Trump's tax returns. Now they're using the IRS. By the way, the Treasury Department gave Congress the Heisman and said, "You're not the boss of us." Boom. You're not the boss of us. We're not listening to your subpoenas or your requests for the president's tax returns. How about the tax returns of Nancy Pelosi? How about the tax returns of good old socialist Bernie Sanders? By the way, is it possible for a socialist to be a millionaire? Yeah, Bernie Sanders, man of the people. He's a millionaire. Oh, that little rascal Bernie. I don't know how that works. I really don't know how that works if you're a millionaire and you're a socialist. Because shouldn't you be giving all your money to the people? So that's one topic at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I go back to this situation, though, where you have the coup. That's one thing. Now another, the president, the only president that cares about the border and keeping us safe.
The whole asylum rules, laws, and regulations have been taken advantage of by people that are very bad people in many cases.
He's right about that. Thanks to good old Obama, you can just come to this country and go, I'm being persecuted, and it's up to us to figure out that you haven't been persecuted.
We have many people dying coming across the border because they'll come across the border. It's a vast, vast area. And they'll be dropped off, and they start walking, and they'll say Houston's right down the road, but it's actually 300 miles away. And we find dead people from Guatemala, Honduras, from El Salvador, from Mexico.
There we have it. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to the phones. Liberty Linda joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller in the morning. Hello, Liberty Linda.
Good morning. You know, I've heard of an altered universe, Kevin. However, it seems every time the Dems speak out, pushing their communistic, socialistic agenda, it seems we have woke up in an altered universe. You know, I believe what Glenn Beck said. We need to turn to God, or what some people now call our Creator. And now I'm so excited that our Attorney General is actually turning it around and investigating the accusers. Did we ever think this was going to happen? I'm so excited about it that maybe truth will actually come out of this report.
Well, then you have the devious little libs. They're upset. They're mad. They're angry.
Of course, yeah. It's turning back on them. And you know, there are bad things going on. You know, we do think we live in an altered universe. Is this our country? Is this really going on? But then we see the good in amongst the bad, you know, and here our president, you know, is coming out and, you know, and surprising us about this. Somebody commented about this. Oh, it's Glenn Beck commented about this church up in Chicago. That doesn't surprise me that the communists are hiding behind a church and spreading this. All these things that are coming out to me, are extremely interesting. And anyway, I believe we need to 100% be behind our president. He's actually saving people's lives by closing our borders. And you know, how do we know that these people are being sent off to travel 300 miles with a little bit of water? Don't these people care about their own people that they're sending into our country? And they're dying out there in the desert. Don't they have a heart?
Great points, Liberty Linda.
These are some of the questions we ask ourselves. You know, let's turn to God. Let's have a heart. Let's close the border and save lives. And let's get behind our president and support him, because He's a man that knows what he's talking about. And listen to the Kevin Miller Show every morning. I love the people you have calling in. I love your message because the message is actually positive coming from, the Kevin Miller Show. So keep up the wonderful work, Kevin. We love you.
Well, we love you, Liberty Linda. Hopefully they'll keep me around. Thank you.
We're all praying for you.
And you're in my prayers. Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We go to Jerry in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jerry.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Yeah, I don't think most of them are dying out there in the desert. I think it's a well-coordinated international effort to assault the southern border of the United States and crash our system. These people have smartphones, porta potties, new tennis shoes. I saw a couple of them today with fistfuls of money buying rides on trucks. Yeah, they're not the poor downtrodden, dying in the desert people. So anyway, I just wanted to address that comment Liberty Linda made. In regard to Bernie the socialist, and you asked, well, how does that work? Bernie's a millionaire. The way it works is he's the head socialist.
Really? So the head socialist gets to be a millionaire?
Throughout history.
Huh. Interesting. Jerry, anything else on KIDO Talk Radio this morning?
Well, other than the fact the rest of us will live in squalor, and he'll continue to be a millionaire. So, anyway, if that's what you want, vote for Bernie.
I was going to say, a good socialist should be sharing the wealth, right?
You ever met a good one?
You're right about that one, yeah. You're right. Jerry, take care.
Have a good day.
Jerry from Nampa, thank you for waking up on the right side. Coming up next, we're talking about equality. But how about equality in sports? Is it possible to make sports equal? You won't believe what the House looked at yesterday. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. All right, this is a good one. You're going to love this one. 234 House Democrats and 2 Republicans co-sponsor a bill forcing schools to let male athletes compete on girls' sports teams. That's right, from the Daily Caller. Here on KIDO Talk Radio, every House Democrat but one has co-sponsored a bill requiring schools to allow male athletes who identify as transgender girls to compete on all female sports teams. Democrats' Equality Act would amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to make sexual orientation and gender identity protected characteristics under federal anti-discrimination law. Among other things, the bill would force public schools to expand female athletic teams to include biological males who identify as transgender girls. Now remember when we had that whole controversy about the transgender here and there and everybody else, and all the controversy involved in that, all the trauma involved in that, everything else involved in that, where we had the testimony at the Capitol, I believe it was for words, adding the words and that sort of thing. Can you believe now they're looking at, so again, with all respect to everyone who is impacted by this issue, many of us, maybe we're going to be politically correct, and we're just going to say, I'm trying to understand this. Never mind that you can't call the Boy Scouts anymore. Hey, we're the Scouts, and let's bring in the girls. Now, I don't know how many boys have joined the Girl Scouts, but, you have the genders for years and years in this country. Those Boy Scouts were for the boys, the Girl Scouts for the girls. This whole gender confusion. So you can tell me that as we've, had these bathroom wars where men have walked into women's bathrooms. And remember, somebody was talking about a downtown gym a couple years ago where there's a guy that says he's a girl and he goes into the women's showers and such. And the people at the gym say, nothing we can do about it. Except until, we'll just let that go. And you've had men call on the show. Look, if that happens to my wife, well, we're going to have a little talk. So you talk about confusing people. And if, dear true believer, that the kids don't have enough to deal with, can you imagine being a young lady? You're playing basketball, you're playing field hockey, you're playing softball, and all of a sudden you got to compete against a guy who says he's a girl? That don't seem right to me. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Love to hear what you have to say. The Equality Act, written by the devious little libs, where biological males will be able to compete against the girls. Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM with Kevin Miller in the morning. Good morning, Dave. Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's get to your calls. The Equality Act, not to be confused with the Equity Act. Pete from Mountain Home. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Pete.
Kevin, there's so many things to comment on this morning. This is a great program. I'd say the Equality Act, any high school girl or any young woman in college should write the libs and tell them, gee, thanks, you've eliminated women's sports in high school and college. You know, that's gone. Other than shooting, the women do compete really well against and with men in shooting because, you know, that works for both folks. But, geez, track and basketball, it's gone as far as the women and the girls are concerned.
What type of message does that send to the women?
That tells them that we don't actually recognize you as a separate gender, and we don't care because the transgender community is a more protected minority than real females are. Sorry, ha ha ha. It's insane. The second thing is I am so glad to see we now have an attorney general that is going to at least do some work on restoring the rule of law in this country, and that the Clintons and the Obama, shall we say, acolytes and the people in the Justice Department and the FBI are, in fact, not above the law, which they would like to think. Golly, Bernie Sanders, the millionaire, I would like everyone listening to my voice here to send an email to Senator Bernie Sanders and ask if he would send them some money because they need money and he's rich and he should share with everyone.
Come on, Bernie.
Come on, Bernie. Pass it out, dude. And Jerry was right. You look at socialism and the people in charge always live the lives of the wealthy. I mean, they aren't suffering. Stalin, Maduro, Castro, all of them. The ones at the top, they aren't suffering like the peasants. And finally, unsung heroes, I'd like to put in a real big thank you to the men and women who work for Idaho Power and all the power companies. They're out there in the blizzards, in the rain. They're up those 100-foot tall towers fixing the power lines. They don't get days off on, 3-day weekends. They're out there in the power plants. They're in the computer rooms where they're keeping all the power lines balanced and they're keeping the grid up. And I just want everyone to imagine what it would be like if you were in, let's say, Venezuela, where the power was gone. You had no electric power. The grid was down. And you see somebody in a power company truck and you got a chance, pull over and say thank you to them.
Good call, Pete. Take care, brother.
Thank you, Kev.
Thank you. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We go to Max in Garden City. Good morning, Max.
Good morning. Two things I'd like to address. The first is gender equality. Why don't we just push that all the way? Go to the United Nations and say, hey, look, let's throw out the Olympic Games until they allow anybody to compete with anybody. Let's get women out there in boxing. Let's get them out there in wrestling. Let's get them out there in football. How about that? Let's be equal about this. If that's what they want, let's give it to them. There's no way they can compete head-to-head in any of the really physical sports. Does that make me a bigot?
I don't know about that, but it does raise a question. Why would you have every Democrat and 2 Republicans trying to pass this Equality Act that would amend the Civil Rights Act, demanding that boys get to compete with girls in high school sports. Crazy.
Well, with the Democrats, it's all about a very strong, very cleverly organized and united front. And with the Republicans, it's all about keeping their jobs. That's sad. Point 2. You ever heard of something called a hate crime?
Yeah.
Cities like New York, states like New York, have laws that have created what they call protected classes. What this means basically is if you beat somebody up in a fight and it turns out the person was in one of the protected classes, be it LGBTQ, be it a black person, be it somebody of the Muslim faith, if you fit in one of the categories, it is automatically prosecuted as a hate crime, and the severity of the crime is jacked up one level. So you're going to catch 10 or 20 more years than you would because somebody pretended to read your mind and say, ooh, he beat him up because he was gay. In most cases, there's no obvious marker as to why most fights and most violent crimes occur. But they've got to get us after one another. Don't you think the word hate crime is a crime in itself?
Yes, because a crime is a crime is a crime.
But shouldn't we give special protected status to people who have been, the Jews, they were treated terribly in World War II through history. Shouldn't we give them protected status?
Well, you'll have to take that up with Representative Omar.
We also need to take it up with white Catholic boys. Ooh. Guys like you. Well,
pretty soon
Catholics, they go off the rails sometimes, but they're special.
My people have been persecuted, and we could go into that. By the way, I'm anxiously waiting for my special category being a fatty. I think fatties should be
hey, we've
special
met.
status.
You and I should both get into that category, but as long as we're at it. Although I bow to your immenseness, sir.
On that note, God bless, Max. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. Waking up on the right side. Thank you, Dave Ramsey. Out to Fox News Radio's Rachel Sutherland, joining us from Capitol Hill. Rachel, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
Boy, how about that Attorney General Bill Barr? He sure can get the conversation rolling.
Yeah, he sucked the air out of the room yesterday when he told a Senate subcommittee that he did believe that the Trump campaign was spied upon in 2016 and that he's really working on a team to look into this. Now, I should point out, he said that he wanted to make sure he didn't say there wasn't a justification for the spying. He just wants to look in to see whether there was any kind of grounds for it. So that's important to point out. And lawmakers responded pretty forcefully. I believe it was Hawaii Democrat Brian Schatz who said, Attorney General, do you want to rephrase that? Because the word spying is just so inflammatory. And that's when Barr said, okay, well, then unauthorized surveillance, is that better? So this was definitely something that the president has been wanting, some investigation into how the surveillance took place. The other side would say that they did this legally, that they went to the FISA court here in Washington to obtain a warrant, we know, to surveil Carter Page, a former Trump campaign aide. But some wonder about the basis of that, the Steele dossier that had been reportedly used, at least as part of the reasoning for this warrant. So all that's under investigation. The Inspector General is looking into the FISA court process now, and Barr says by May or June we'll have the results of that.
The reaction, was it expected?
Well, Democrats,
yeah,
pretty up in arms. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi saying the Attorney General has gone off the rails. They don't like the fact that he's accusing unnamed people in the intelligence community of spying on a political campaign. So they are pushing back on that. Interesting that Barr yesterday he said he wouldn't say anything more about it until the final public version of the Mueller report is released. And after that, he says he's happy to come back to Capitol Hill and testify before both the Senate and House Judiciary Committee. So be looking for more of this testimony and the report to drop any day now. He had said a couple of days ago within a week. I think it's possible. I won't put my money on it, but a lot of stuff tends to dump on Fridays. So it could be tomorrow. It could be sometime next week.
Boy, that is amazing when you think about the Mueller report coming down and just the testimony of the Attorney General. He seems, at the least, unflappable.
He does. He seems to be an even-handed type of person. He's not someone who's going to get riled up. I think another headline that he made yesterday is that he said that after the public version of the Mueller report is released, that he is willing to work with committee members on the Hill to get them more sensitive information, stuff that wouldn't be in the public version. I don't know if they'd be in what they call a SCIF, which, is in the basement of the Capitol typically, and people who go in to view documents have to leave their cell phones outside. It's a highly secretive process. I don't know if he would do something like that or just release more information in Congress, because what happens then? There'll be leaks. So, but it was interesting. He at least said that he was willing to work with Congress to get them more information than the general public.
Rachel, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Rachel Sutherland joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So you've got 234 Democrats wanting to amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964, calling it the Equality Act, which would include sexual orientation and gender identity among the protected characteristics under federal anti-discrimination law. Now, what does this mean? It means that little boys that identify as little girls could now compete in little girl or high school athletics. Let's get your reaction. We go to Robert in Boise. Robert, thanks for your patience. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Yeah, on this equality bill, I think this is going to be a real boom to high school and college athletics. Now they can do away with men's and women's athletics and just have athletics. That way they don't have to have a program that's not paying for itself.
Well, let's just get rid of gender altogether and put them all in a big pot there and roll with it, right?
Well, that's what I think, yeah. They've always complained that they have, the reason they didn't have women's athletics is because it wouldn't pay for itself, and they've always struggled. So this would be the way to get rid of both athletic programs and just have one.
Who in their right mind would think of this?
Only the left. Only the left.
Yeah. Well, Robert, anything else you'd like to share with us?
No, that'll do it.
Thank you, brother. You have a great day.
All right, thanks, Kevin.
Thank
Bye.
you, Robert. Appreciate you. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning here. So if you're just waking up, we'll get to this Candace Owens versus Leo, the civil rights guy, in a minute from Fox News. However, Jerry Nadler, you remember good old Jerry, a Democrat from New York? He made a similar argument this month concerning a hearing held on this legislation. I love this. Biological male is a top-rated NCAA track star. We'll get to that in a minute. Quote, many states have sexual orientation and general gender identity non-discrimination laws, and all of them still have women's sports. Arguments about transgender athletes participating in sports in accordance with their gender identity having competitive advantages has not been borne out. Come on, dude. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Now get this. By the way, we talk about the war on boys. This transgender thing, what's it going to do to the little girls? We've seen what it's doing to the little boys, but what about the little girls? One of the fastest sprinters in the NCAA is a biological man. Yeah. Coming from east of the Great River, that's usually where all the crazy lib stuff comes from, except for California, and they pretty much have that market cornered. So this is funny. There's a place called Franklin Pierce University. It used to be Franklin Pierce College. I actually went there once on a visit, and my dad, God bless him, just embarrassed the heck out of me. You go to a place like a university or college or a job or whatever, and you bring along a friend. I brought along my dad. And they had a journalism program. And look, Dad, they've got a video camera. And like the first question he asked everybody, who was Franklin Pierce? And just starts laughing. Well, we were shown the door very quickly. I don't hold grudges, but that was last hour. However, a top-ranked runner in women's track is dominating the competition and setting records in a year after competing as a man at the same level. So here you have it. You've got a guy who identifies as a girl now beating the heck out of the women. Does that seem like it's fair? And one thinks of civil rights. When one thinks of the historic Civil Rights Act of 1964, do you think that Dr. King or even Malcolm X or whomever else, the Freedom Riders, would have said, yeah, we need to have people that are born males, identify as girls, play softball and women's basketball? That's why they have women's basketball. It's for the women, right? Not for the men. Now, it's important here because the Democrats are in favor of this. All of them voted for this in the House. All of them voted for this. So the next time you're thinking about this, and 2 Republicans co-sponsored this bill that would force schools to let male athletes compete on girls' sports teams. Crazy, right? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. That's one issue. So, also, in our never-ending quest to heal America, to heal Idaho, you've got Candace Owens, the conservative spokesperson for Turning Point USA, the communications director, went before Congress and called them out, right? Called them out. And so last night she was on the Laura Ingraham show, and you have Leo Terrell, who's been on with Hannity, he's been on with all these folks, going after her for telling it like it is. Let's take a listen to this because, again, not only do we have to speak, but we have to listen here on KIDO Talk Radio.
Candace Owens is getting 15 minutes of fame, and just give me 30 seconds to prove my point. She just, again, assumed that all Democrats are hoping that black people fail. On her interview with C-SPAN, she says that the word nationalism has been compromised or poisoned by elitists. Tell that to the people in Charlottesville. She then tried to put herself in the same category of Donald Trump, talking about the false narrative. But the part that was so insulting, when she's promoting her employer and said that she went to Jerusalem and not a single Democrat went there. Ms. Owens, let me tell you, 72% of Jewish Americans voted for Democrats. So you did a great job of promoting yourself and playing the victim. And by the way, it's not just black people who were not stupid by what you said. Americans were not stupid, because I listened to everything you just said. And I hope you can challenge what I said about the number of blacks, number of Jews who support Democrats. But you did a good job of marketing yourself today, putting yourself in the same boat as the president. Good job, Candace.
All right. So the personal attack, I just want to, for the record, I just want to say the personal attacks continue. That, Leah, you're attacking her character. She's mentioning issues. You're attacking her character and what she said.
Laura,
you're not attacking that.
You're not a leader.
Laura,
in my opinion,
Laura, don't talk over the
let me speak. Let me speak. That wasn't ad hominem attack, and it's childish, and I'm not going to play these playground tactics with you. I'm going to keep the focus on black America and the things that are actually impacting us. This is an adult conversation that needs to be had. Okay, the shootings in Chicago. It was Laura Ingraham who hosted and had a real conversation with people that were living in that neighborhood about things that are affecting them. And ultimately, this is why the Blexit movement grows. This is why blacks are exiting the Democrat Party, because ad hominem attacks are not making people feel better about themselves. Ad hominem attacks are not going to impact our financial situation in black America. It's unfortunate because you consider yourself a civil rights leader. You're just attacking me. You're just attacking me. You haven't
Laura
actually offered anything that's constructive for black America.
All right, Leo,
does anyone watching your program honestly believe what she just said? I'll give you a straight. She said Democratic Party want black people to fail. See, those are talking points, Ms. Owens, because you know deep down inside, just because you disagree with the Democrats, you cannot assume that Democrats want black people to fail. That's what you just said on national TV.
I did, and I believe that, and I will back that up with facts.
Okay,
I will back it up with facts. I will back it up with facts.
You know that's not true.
I want to play something
Laura, you know that's
that was
not true.
said today. I
will back it up with facts.
I think a lot of Democrat leaders are freaking out and tried to kill her yesterday at that hearing.
They're afraid.
Because they don't want what she is saying to take hold in other parts of the black community. Leo, I honestly believe that. I know Candace. And what was said about her implied by Ted Lieu was disgusting. I do, and that's why I want to have a conversation about these underlying issues. That's why we went to Chicago to do that forum.
There we have it from Laura Ingraham. Remember, when you're listening to Fox News on the radio in the Treasure Valley, you're listening to not one but two stations. KIDO Talk Radio, that's on 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller with you here. Coming up at 580-5436. 580 KIDO. We'll take a look at the Idaho legislature. Should they adjourn, or are you down for one more run at this initiative bill, and does it really matter to you? We'll hear from the House Minority Leader next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Waking up on the right side, blessed to be a part of your day. Don't forget, we'll be at St. Mary's Catholic School tomorrow, promoting our school, securing our future. Can't wait for that. Also, win Kevin Miller's money. Very simple, very easy. All you have to do is listen at 6 a.m., 8 a.m. for your chance to win up to $5,000. So the legislature looks like it's winding down. You have a state representative, House Minority Leader Matt Erpelding, saying, we don't need another initiative bill. We don't need anything, and here's why.
It forces those who would like to run an initiative to do a fiscal note through a highly political process and an arm of the governor. So essentially, if the governor's office doesn't agree with an initiative, it's very hard for the citizens to be able to drive what the finance costs will actually be.
You know, I'm interested to hear what people say about this session once it's over. Medicaid expansion approved, and then you have it from the new group that was formed with, from what I hear, outside money. Let's Be Heard Idaho, or Idaho on Your Side, or whatever they're calling it, this special interest group that continues to get a lot of attention. Let's Be Heard Idaho, or We're Sounding Off Idaho. You know, the pro-Medicaid expansion crew that I know. Didn't they promise, like, Prop 2 was we're going to cover 65,000 people. Now it's up to 120,000 people. God bless them for having compassion. Oh, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on compassion. I'm just trying to figure out how we're going to pay for it. Right? So you have the governor vetoing the initiative bill, which I think, again, something's going on here that this is important, that all of a sudden the House, before they adjourn, they're sending 4 back up to the Senate. And possibly the governor will sign it. But you had, according to published reports, I heard up to 7,000 phone calls, but published reports, broadcast reports saying over 3,000 phone calls. Look, if that's what it takes to influence the government, we can generate that in a couple of days. We can generate that in one morning show. 3,000-4,000 phone calls, right? To influence the state. But you think about this initiative bill, you think about everything else, and the scary thing about this, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, the initiative bill goes down, and look, maybe I'm just a Grinch, I'm a curmudgeon, I'm a lot of things, I'm a bell pepper. Look, you want big money, you can get an initiative. I agree with the establishment folks when they say we don't want the state to be Oregon, we don't want the state to be California, and we've seen in bigger states like Colorado, although I don't know if it's happened in Utah, it's happened in Colorado where, boom, all of a sudden, what do you have? 2 or 3 libs come in with big money, and the state becomes lib. That could happen here. Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Back to the situation, though, when you're looking at the legislature and these bills and the hemp bill that goes down. You have a lot of hemp supporters that are mad about that. Rightfully so. Law enforcement still has the majority power in this state. And I'm sure somebody said the governor's not going to sign this without the sign-off of law enforcement, which he alluded to. And who really believes that it's just about hemp? No, it's about making Idaho a liberal, a flyover destination, like a bedroom community to the folks from California. Not the good folks who, by the way, somebody stopped by Mrs. Miller's flower shop, Hope Blooms, and said, look, Kevin, tell Kevin Miller that I got Idaho plates. Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate you coming here. But the devious little libs that seek to make this not only little Portland, which you could say the city of Boise has become, but little Sacramento. When we're thinking about the liberal progressive influence and the upcoming marijuana wars in the state of Idaho. Somebody last night saying, Hey, everybody, I'm smoking dope, and I'm going to do it legally. Well, this ain't Ontario. More coming up. Boom, boom. Stay tuned. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.